What's up guys, welcome to Gamers In, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 free-to-play anime MMOs that you should be playing right now. Coming in at number 5, we have Closers. Now, Closers was actually released in 2014 in Korea under the publisher Nexon, but we didn't receive the game in the North American market until 2017 under the publisher En Masse Entertainment. At its core, the game is a side-scrolling beat-em-up game, and you're going to follow a group of high school students, go figure, called the Black Lambs. And the setting for this game is going to take place in Seoul, Korea. It's the year 2020. These dimensional gates have opened, and monsters are actually spewing out of these gates. So you and your group of high school friends are tasked with destroying these monsters. So the game is actually chapter driven, with each chapter having its own set of unique challenges, different bosses, different items that you can collect from the game, and I don't really think I've had this much fun with a side-scrolling game in quite some time. Now, one unique thing I can say about Closers is it does have a PvP mode that is very much modeled after a MOBA. So if you're a League of Legends fan and you like side-scrollers, this is going to be your game. As far as character creation goes, there's not a ton of customization options, so you essentially just pick one of the characters and you start the first chapter. But as you play through the game, and even if you want to purchase from the cash shop, there are a ton of cosmetic items to change your character's appearance. So if you're a fan of creating your own character from scratch, this might not be up your alley, but you will have the option to go through tons and tons of items that can make your character super unique. Overall, it's a really good game. To me, it's something that I will play casually. I don't see myself dedicating hours upon hours of playing this game, but to pick it up every once in a while, it's a pretty solid side-scrolling anime game. At the number 4 spot, we have Soulworker. Now, Soulworker was originally released in 2016 in Japan, but it came to North America just a couple years later in 2018 under the publisher Gameforge. Now, in Soulworker, there are 6 different characters that you can play as, each with their own unique weapons, and there is some customization to the characters in this game, so you're not locked into just, the base character. You can actually change the hair color, you can change the eye color. There are 3 different hairstyles usually, so you do have some options, but they are very limited. Now, the combat in this game is absolutely phenomenal. I really enjoy it, and it's simplistic, so you only have 3 skills on your bar at any given time, so you're not chaining together like 12 hotkeys, trying to make a combo. It's very easy to get the hang of. Now, I will say some of the characters are a little bit more complex or a little bit more difficult to play than others, but overall it's a very simple approach to the combat style. Some people have actually likened the game to Warframe, just a little bit more simple, and I would have to agree here. At one point it does really just become a grind fest to go through, grind out your gear, grind out your experience, and that's pretty much the name of the game. But there are 3 different modes that you can use to grind through. So you have, of course, normal mode, which is pretty easy. You have hard mode, and then you also have manic. Now, I do recommend playing the game on manic mode because it's not actually too hard and it does yield the best rewards. Now, the game actually also has Soulworker 0, which is essentially the same game on mobile, so you can actually download that from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store as well. Overall, the game is really fantastic. If you're into super smooth action combat, then Soulworker is going to be the game for you. And in our number 3 spot, we have Kurtzpel. Now, Kurtzpel was another game that it came out in Korea. It was published under Nexon Games, but when we received it in North America last year, it actually came under the publisher COG Games. Now, Kurtzpel actually does have a fairly good customization system set up here, so there's a lot that you can do. I like to refer to the customization options in these games sometimes as waifu builders, and Kurtzpel does definitely deliver on that fan service. Now, looking past the fan service, there are some really good tools. So you actually do have quite a few different hairstyles that you can choose from, different eye shapes, eyebrows, you name it. The game does have some decent customization options, so you're sure to make a unique character every time. Now, the game isn't really story driven that much, but it's more driven by the player versus player and player versus environment modes that are available. Those modes do include Deathmatch, Capture the Flag, Conquest, and there's even epic missions that have you team up with other players for a chance at some really awesome rewards. Now, the game doesn't really have a class system, but it does use the karma system, and karmas are essentially the weapons that you can equip. And you'll see here in the video that I am using the starting greatsword, and I'm also using the starter longbow. Now, if I were to equip one of the karmas, such as the staff, that's going to kind of switch my role and make me more of a caster where I can cast spells. So there are several different karmas available, including gauntlets, staves, and if you're really feeling that Kirito vibe, there's also dual swords. Now, depending on the karma that you choose will depend how you play the game. So if you want to play a ranged character, you can do that. If you want to do a combo with a ranged and up-close melee, that is possible as well. But I will say that the combat in the game, it is exceptional. So it's very fluent, it's very vibrant, all the different skills make it a bit strategic on how you're going to take your enemies down. So this is actually probably the biggest highlight of the game for me, because the combat, again, is very fluid and it's really, really fun. Now, in Kurtzpel, I actually lost track of time when I was recording these videos. I was just like, I'm gonna play the game for another hour, and I look at my clock and it was 3 hours later. So it's very easy to lose yourself in it. It's very much the type of game where you're just like, one more match and I'm done. So it does have that lasting power. That being said, I think for me, Kurtzpel is one of those games that just helps to scratch an itch every once in a while, and I'll probably play it on the more casual side. You absolutely cannot have an anime MMO list without mentioning Tera, we have here in my number 2 spot. Tera was actually released in 2011 when it launched in Korea under the publisher NHN Corporation, and then in 2012 it of course made its way to the North American market under En Masse Entertainment's publishing. Now, Tera looks absolutely fantastic, and over the 9 years that it's been out, it's undergone, a few different revamps, and one of the things that I think really helped it out was it launched across consoles. So not only is it restricted to just PC, but those using Xbox or PlayStation can also access Tera as well. Now, if you've never played Tera before, it's not your typical tab target MMO, so you actually have to be a little bit more precise with where you're aiming so that you can ensure your attacks actually land. Tera does follow the traditional MMORPG class formula, but it is gender locked. For example, I'm playing one of the new classes, the Valkyrie, and it is gender locked to only female characters of a couple different races. So going into Tera with a fresh pair of eyes, just be prepared that some of your favorite classes or some of the classes that you do want to play may be gender locked to a specific gender. Now, the customization options in this game are fantastic. In fact, I'm going to give this game one of my waifu builder stamps of approval, and in addition to all the customization options that are available, each race actually does feel independent from the other. And that's something that you're not going to see in a lot of current MMO games. The bread and butter of Tera is actually from its fantastic combat system. And this is something that other games have tried to emulate over the years, but Tera still does it exceptionally well. One of the things that I specifically enjoy about the system that they have set up is it takes the smallest fight, the most trivial fight with just a level 1 mob, and it really builds it up on this grand scale. And the boss fights in this game, some of them are absolutely ridiculous looking with some of these huge bosses that you go up against. It's just jam-packed with tons and tons of action. If you haven't given Tera a shot yet, I highly recommend that you at least try out this game and see what you think for yourself. In the number 1 spot, we have Phantasy Star Online 2. Now, this game originally launched back in 2012 in Japan, and we've been waiting for the game to come to North America ever since. Now, that finally came 8 years later. It's 2020, and we finally got our wish, and Phantasy Star Online 2 is my top pick for best anime MMO. The character customization in the game is pretty good. Now, it does expand further as you actually play the game, and a few things that you can actually tweak when you're registering a new character. You can adjust things like body style, you can adjust the color scheme on your outfit, but in the game you actually get different kinds of outfits, different kind of glamours or fashions that you can use to really make your character even more unique. Now, the game can be super overwhelming when you first start, but make sure that you go through the tutorial and that you read all the little pop-ups that come up on your screen, and that will really help you to understand the various menus and features of the game. Questing in this game is your primary way of leveling, and the way you do that is you go to the appropriate NPC. Many times that NPC is right at the front desk when you go to the ship. You pick up the quest and you go to the appropriate zone, usually killing different mobs or gathering different materials. Now, once you've actually loaded into a location, you have a chance to spawn different missions around the map. Now, these missions will have you do things like kill a boss monster that will spawn or destroy this group of monsters. And it's definitely well worth your time if you're in it for those sweet extra EXP points. Now, the combat is truly excellent in this game, and it will all depend on the class that you select. I always tend to steer towards ranged classes because I cannot dodge to save my life, so I'm not really suited for that melee life. Now, you can only have 3 skills on your bar at any given time, but you can actually have multiple bars that you can scroll between. For example, on my summoner here, I have an attack bar for my pet, but then I also have a bar that I can pull up that includes my healing spells and a lot of my buffs as well. Now, in the game, there are a lot of side quests that you need to complete. For example, there are quests that you need to do that will raise the level cap so that you can level your class even higher. There are also quests that unlock the various difficulties. Now, I will say the game is very friendly if you're the kind of person that wants to solo, but if you're the kind of person that also wants to group up, there's content available for you as well. Now, I'm going to date myself here and say that I played the original Phantasy Star Online on the Sega Dreamcast, and this game very much feels like a successor to that game. The combat is definitely more fast-paced than the original Phantasy Star, but there are a lot of great things that they've improved on. There's so many more areas for you to explore, and not to mention the North American version has all of the Japanese updates to it. So besides a few outfits and a couple of minor things, you can expect the game to be jam-packed with 8 years worth of updates and content. Now, I will also be doing a full review of just Phantasy Star Online 2, so definitely keep an eye out for that, and I'm also going to be doing some live streams related to Phantasy Star Online 2 as well. So please keep an eye out for that if you did like this video. And thank you so much everybody for watching my video. I am anxious to hear from you guys. So are there any games that you would have put on this list? And if so, what are those games? Do you disagree with me? That's fine. Let's talk about it in the comments below. And if you guys liked the video, you know what to do. I always appreciate when you smash those buttons. So until next time, I will see you later.